What's up, guys? It is a 2015 Chrysler 200 Limited, and noticed during inspection that the driver's side rear wheel bearing is no good. So what we're doing today is we're replacing it. I'm a little out of breath from dealing with rust. That's what happens in the Rust Belt. Typically, or some things that I want to make sure that everybody knows, because not many people do, you need some special tools for this job. This isn't like your regular job. So first things first, if you notice there's no studs, well, for those of you who don't know, Chrysler doesn't use studs, or at least on this one, they love these guys right here. All right, so when you remove this, you may have to fight with your wheel a little bit and wiggle it, and it'll come off. Don't worry, it will. Next thing you should know is to take that bracket off right there. Caliper, the brake pad bracket. You've got to get these out. All right. Now these guys are in there pretty good. You know, you got to be patient because you're using a Torx 55, a T55 to get these guys out. All right, so you got to be a little patient with it. The next thing that you're going to want to worry about is this little guy here. This holds the rotor. Now, for those of you who don't know, you can take your Allen socket here, which is size 5. Put it in there. All right. Take you a little hammer and just give it a couple good taps. All right. What you're doing is trying to shock it loose. That's all this is you're just trying to shock this loose so that you can unbolt it. Nothing crazy. Now, what I'm currently working on doing is taking out the 4 bolts. You can see threads here, down here on the bottom, on either side. I believe they're called an inverted Torx, an E-Torx. All right, and this particular one is a size 14, if I recall. Yeah, size 14. So what you're going to do, you're going to undo all 4 of those, and then we're going to go to some aggression. I wanted to show you what the head of these bolts look like. All right, and that relates to a socket that looks like that. Now, all 4 bolts are out. You know, we're gonna, as you can see, I'm giving it a little bit of something here, and it ain't coming out. Now, this is typical for Rust Belt mechanics to have to deal with. So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take you a 4-pound sledge right there, and you're gonna smack that thing. And when you smack it, it's going to jar it loose, and we're going to be able to take it right out. Did some aggression and found that, you know what, maybe it's a good idea. We're going to go ahead and pull this plate. Give me 2 sides to smack it on. There are 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Unbolted all of them. They're 10 millimeters. Now we're going to trade off sides. Smack this side, smack this side. Smack this side, smack this side. And we're going to walk it out. Huzzah! It is out. That's your surface. What you want to do, you're in here, you should clean this up, all right? It ain't that big of a deal. Clean it up, make it look a little nice. You know, don't take anything too aggressive to this. All right, you should be using something nice and light and basically just cleaning up to take all the roughness out, so that when you put this back in, it seats nicely. Now, as you can see, this wheel bearing's a little tore up, but we're going to replace it with a nice shiny new one. Shiny new one. Now, the plan's going to be for this, because it didn't really want to seat in there really nice. It's going to require some pressure, and I want to make sure these holes are lined up. All right, so rather than put it in, have to take it out, redo it, or anything like that, what I've done is I've pushed the bolt through the hole threaded it up, make sure it's nice and square so it's not going to cross thread. And I'm going to use tightening down the bolt to pull the wheel bearing in and seat it flush. We've got our new wheel bearing on, got our bolts on tight, and we're going to put our plate back on. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just working on putting these on finger tight so that I can grab my 10 and put them on. So now we got our pretty wheel bearing on, we got our back plate on. We're going to put our rotor on. After our rotor, we're going to put our bracket on, our caliper on, and our tire on. So for those of you still following along, these 2 bolts are used for leverage to make sure this is tight. I didn't need these 2 bolts to get that tight. All right. You may not, but just in case you do, 2 bolts. All right, just hand tight them in. That's all these are, hand tight. Put it in there. Now earlier when I was talking about needing to take and smack it, if you guys recall earlier in the video, I told you, hey, you know, take the tool, put it in, and give it a tap. So now that it's in. For those of you who don't live in the Rust Belt, just rejoice that you have an easy job. All right. So what we're going to do now, like I said, I'm going to put that bracket on here. And then we'll throw a caliper on and tire on. As you can see, it's on. It's on. So something I wanted to mention to you all, back here in this bracket that's right here, there's a 10mm nut on the end of what is a bolt with a stud on it. All right, so take the 10 off, then you're gonna have to bend this bracket that holds the brake line out of the way carefully, and then 10mm to you can't really tell right here, but there's a 10mm right here that you'll make sure to take off. Just propped it up, lined up the hole to the best I could on one of them, and then I've pinned it in such a way that I could just do this with no problem. We're all done. If you like the content, give me a like and a subscribe.